to start off our 2019 DCS Cinema Lighting Expo. We have Phil Greenstreet. He's from Rosco. He's going to show us and tell us about the SoftDrop. We're starting with it because you're going to see it all throughout the day, but tell them a little bit about it and stand right there in the light.
Okay. So yes, hi, I'm Phil Greenstreet from Rosco. You probably know Rosco from way back as filter manufacturers. We've been around for a while, so along with the ASC and RE, actually a little bit longer than both of those. We're in our 109th year, which is a long time. I mean, we've been pretty much around as long as there's been a film industry. And obviously the products that we started with are not the products that we have today. The first two things that we made were film cement and bulb dip. Bulb dip for Broadway, for the marquees. And trust me, if we were relying on those products, we would have gone out of business a very long time ago. So like Jim was just saying, we've adapted, we've evolved, and we've brought on a bunch of different things over the years. Obviously filters, still a very big product, but there's threats from lighting companies who make lights now that change color. So we jumped onto that bandwagon. And one of the bandwagons we jumped upon was backdrops. We started doing them back in the 80s. In 92, we came up with the vinyl day-night drop. And then 5 years ago now, we switched our attention to cotton instead of vinyl. What cotton gets you is something that's ecologically sound, which is becoming increasingly important. No one-use plastics. Water-based inks on cotton is about as ecologically friendly as you can get in this world. To the point where if you take a cotton backdrop and put it in a landfill, within 5 months it's gone back to the soil, whereas you put a vinyl backdrop in there, you can literally dig it up in 1,000 years, hose it off, and shoot a sitcom with it. So what we did was basically take the ideas we already had and apply them to cotton, and this is the result, SoftDrop. And we've been talking about this here for about the last 5 years. And you can see we still managed to do the day-night thing with the SoftDrop, although having lights shining on it on the front doesn't really help. But you've got one backdrop that could do day and can do night. It's also extremely large in the sense that we can print something that is 39 feet high and 100 feet wide and seamless. And rather than the vinyl drops, which had to be a massive long tube, and I don't know if you ever tried shipping a 39-foot tube, but it's quite unpopular. And frankly prone to disaster, because the first thing somebody does is show up with a 20-foot truck, bend it in half and shove it in the back. So now it all folds up like a nice piece of cotton and goes on a pallet, and then you get out the other end, you shake it off. You might steam it a little bit if necessary, but you're ready to go. So it's a much easier product to use. There's a little bit of a learning curve, but we're trying to work with you for that. So if you've got a show coming up that you think you might want to use one, we're always willing to lend you one for camera tests. And either myself or my colleague Emily here, always happy to come out and sort of give you the rundown on how it works. But they are achieving significant popularity within the industry. Our growth right now is ridiculous, but the growth in the entire industry is ridiculous. So I feel that we're not doing particularly well, we're just keeping pace. But if we're keeping pace with Netflix, we're doing pretty well, I guess. But we've had some sort of major shows using a mixture of film and television. I mean, in the last few years, we did Blade Runner, for example, the recent Nutcracker in theaters. On television, pretty much everything in the Marvel universe in New York, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, they were all using the SoftDrops. So they're pretty popular. You can, I mean, we call it a day-night drop, but obviously you can transition between the two, so you can get a sort of midpoint, so you get a twilight effect, or by varying the color temperature, you can get a variety of looks out of them. The good thing being that because they're so matte, even when you do have a white light shining straight on the front, there's no hot spot, so there's never any danger of it looking dodgy on camera, which means that you can create something that looks a lot more real. To enhance this, we also add what we call artificial depth of field. And what I'll do is I'll just pass this around because it's easier. But essentially what we're doing is applying different levels of softening to different planes within the image, such that the first plane gets a little bit of softening, and then as you go back into the image, it gets an increasing amount. Let me throw this out. It's one of those things cricket doesn't really train you for, is throwing bits of cloth around. Artificial depth of field, one of the reasons being that we were finding that, in particular, the new digital cameras, which you are also beloved of, were interpreting the existing backdrops as flat. I mean, things tend to look kind of flat on camera if you're not careful. So by giving them layers of softening, what you do is you create this sensation of depth that is really it's actually quite alarming at times. I had an experience on a show here in town, Secrets and Lies, where I was walking parallel to the drop, and we had the artificial depth of field going on, and I kept finding that it felt like in my peripheral vision, which is kind of dodgy to start with, but my peripheral vision were interpreting the backdrop as coming out. I mean, I was actually taking evasive action from the buildings that felt like they were coming out at me. And I made the damn thing, so I should have known better. So they're available and as custom pieces, obviously. They're available now as rentals as well, so we've got a lot of those, and it's all accessible through the Rosco digital website. We're very pleased with this. I mean, I think it's the right direction for the industry to go in as a whole. I mean, certainly the eco factor is going to be more an increasing concern in years to come. So I think we've really got to a good place. So the other thing that we came into was color changing lights, because obviously with the decline in filters, the next logical thing to do is make lights that make their own colors. And rather than developing them ourselves, we found a company called DMG Lumiere in France that already had a very good architectural system for lighting, architecture of the light, not in the building sense. And so we bought them about 18 months ago, and when we bought them, they had a bi-color system, but they've now switched to a six-chip LED system, which gives a really great color space, and that's what Emily is going to be talking about.
And that'll be next.
And that'll be next.
Thank you.